What are your thoughts on storming the field? Is it cool? Is it not cool? Is it dangerous? What do you got? What are your thoughts? Either of you.
Um, I mean, I am pro do what you want. If your team has won the game and you want to storm the field, go storm it. Um, to me, like, because OU's been the victim of some field storms over the last 10 years, a handful of times, and it sucks in the moment. It doesn't happen that often, but it's kind of a compliment. When you get beat by a Kansas and like in Lawrence and they storm the field. It's like, yeah, I mean, because we're OU. That's what happens. This does not happen a lot of times that a Kansas beats an OU or
Right.
an OSU wins the final Bedlam game in a rivalry that really like this is the rivalry podcast, episode. That rivalry is, I mean, to call it that is silly. But when your team wins, go ahead and do it. Now, as an elitist OU fan, I don't see any reason why we should. I mean, historically, OU has only ever done it one time, and it was in 2000 when they beat Nebraska, and they were the number one ranked team in the country. And that was the culmination of a 3 week run where they beat Texas and then Kansas State when they were the second ranked team in the country, and then Nebraska. And, after the 90s when OU was awful. So it was kind of like, oh my God, we're back. It was a field rush, not just for that game, but for like the last 10 years of, just pent up rage. But ever since then, OU's had a handful of great victories at home, like a lot. But there's really no need to do it. I don't know. I don't foresee another situation other than nowadays with the whole factor of playoff games potentially being played, at your home stadium. I could see that situation occurring. And if that's the case, like I guess it calls for it because you're just one step closer to a national championship. But I will bring this up because I mean, we don't have to get into this. This is just something I talk about on Through the Keyhole every once in a while. The idea of hosting playoff games sounds great, unless you're located in Norman, Oklahoma, where the second week of December is typically awful weather outside and it's windy and it's cold and it might be an ice storm. And it's like that might be an advantage for OU, but I don't necessarily want to be outside in that environment at that time of year. But you know what? If OU's playing football, I'll probably go do it. And if we have to rush the field because you went on a late field goal, so be it. I'll be out there, warm up that way.
Yeah. Cody, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
yeah. For me, I kind of follow where Brady does with this. It's like, the game is for the fans. They're the ones they pay the ticket price. They purchase the beer. They're bringing their jerseys. They're the ones who are fueling, everything to create the home field advantage. And if a fan base feels good about a win and they want to jump on the field and celebrate with the team, who am I to say they shouldn't do it? And in the same mindset as like, does Texas do that often? No, but I mean, if October 19th comes around and Texas happens to get by OU and Georgia comes to town, I would not be mad about Texas jumping on that field if they were to happen to beat Georgia. Like I like moments like that, I think are worthy when you have like just a first ever. It's the first ever time we're going to play Georgia at home. And that's saying that and I'm speaking if things go our way, but I don't have a problem with it. I think that these most of the time they're kids doing it, and can it get a little crazy? Sure, but those football players are college kids too, and a lot of them are friends. A lot of them, they know them, and I just think that probably is why it's so much. That's one of the areas that it sets itself apart from the NFL that I still like to hold on to, because I like to have that separation as much as possible as we are ever evolving closer and closer to an NFL product.
They
Yeah,
really
the
are.
the one time where I'll probably get a little like elitist or question like, why are you guys doing this? So 2 years ago, Brent's first year, OU's going into their final regular season game in Lubbock against Texas Tech, and I think both teams were 6-6. And I understand it because the student section, like the kids that are storming the field, most of them don't know the history of they just know OU is like a big football school. They don't care about like Billy Sims or Bud Wilkinson or national championships. They're just there for the game that they're watching. Well, Texas Tech wins in overtime in a sloppily played football game, and it puts OU at 6-7 and puts Tech obviously at 7-6. and then they rush the field, and it's like, what are you rushing the field for? We are awful. This is an awful football team, but you beat the logo. So even
Right.
when I start to question, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I get it. I would do the same thing too if I was a Tech fan.
And like you said, it was for Oklahoma, it was kind of for those 10 years of putting up with all those losses, right?
Yeah.
And probably the same thing for them, even though Oklahoma was down that year. It's, putting up
Got
with
to
all those
send
losses previously.
got to send us off to the SEC, where we, are having a little bit of fun, and they're struggling to beat Abilene Christian. But it's
Right.
they've got that win.
That's right.